Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a really fun deck that's gone and done rather well in Japan. Now, it is all based around Sylveon and Gardevoir Tag Team GX. And this is not the first time we've seen a winning deck list based around that particular pairing, but this is a new list, one we haven't seen before, and shall we say, this is not the last time we're going to be talking about Mismagius in this particular format, season, year, call it what you will, ladies and gentlemen. Mismagius is going to keep coming around. So we probably should remind ourselves about Sylveon and Gardevoir before we get rolling. Now, the first attack, 1 Fairy Energy. Search for 2 Fairy Energy, attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Bench Pokemon, fine. It's not great. It's fine. But what we really like here is the main attack, 2 Fairy, 1 Colorless, 150. And you may, if you wish, move as many energy cards attached to your Pokemon to your other Pokemon as you like. So frankly, if you believe that you might get KO'd now or in the not too distant future, you move the energy off, and if you think you're going to survive, you stick around. It shouldn't surprise you to hear that we're going to be playing Ace Roller in this particular deck, so you can essentially save yourself. And then we've got a GX attack here. 3 Fairy Energy, 200 damage is fine, I suppose. But if you've got 3 extra Fairy Energy attached to it, your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck, and they essentially, well, just lose. They lose all of the cards in their hand. Sooner or later, that gets annoying for them. Now, what is interesting here is that we're not playing even a single solitary copy of Fairy Charm. There are no Fairy Charms here. No Fairy Charm Lightning to try and get rid of Pikarom or any of that. We're not playing any Fairy Charms. They protect you from EX and GX attacks of the particular type of Pokemon designated on the card. So this isn't one of those where you're just trying to use Fairy Charm and then you shuffle their hand into their deck and they can't do anything. This is a more straightforward attack and go. We're playing 3 copies of Ace Roller, we're playing 2 copies of Max Potion. So frankly here, this is a smash and heal kind of deck. Your goal, very simply, is to try and make sure that your opponent cannot one-hit KO you. And if they can't one-hit KO you, then you can start using stuff like Max Potion and Ace Roller to make sure they're not 2-hit KOing you. And if they're not 2-hit KOing you, they're probably not winning the game. They're 3, 4, maybe even 5-hit KOing you of all of your healing. And okay, you're giving up free prizes, but it doesn't really matter. You can go along with this one really quite nicely. But what we also have here is Mismagius. I know, right? Why do we have Mismagius? And incidentally, this is all this deck plays. 4 Sylveon and Gardevoir, a 2-2 Mismagius line, that is it. That is all the Pokemon we see here. Well, Mismagius is played for the ability whereby you may KO it, and yes, that means giving your opponent a prize. But when you KO it, you get to draw until you've got 7 cards in your hand. That's pretty ridiculous. Because now you set up. And that's essentially where we are here. And here's what is amazing about this particular deck. It really doesn't matter when your Mismagius go down. Because you see, other than your Mismagius, you're playing a quad Sylveon Gardevoir deck. So let's say both the Mismagius go down. Your opponent's got to take 4 prizes to win the game. They KO a Sylveon and Gardevoir. They have 1 prize remaining. You've only got Sylveon and Gardevoir. So you might have an opponent who's only got 1 prize card remaining, but it doesn't matter because they've still got to take out a free prize Pokemon in order to win the game. To be blunt, this means that you can use 2 Mismagius, get all of the extra draw power you want, and not even have to care about the fact that you're giving your opponent extra prizes. And this becomes really important. Because as much as you do not care about giving up prizes for Mismagius, you absolutely do care about giving up prizes with your Tag Team GX. You have got to make sure your Tag Team GX does not go down. So you have got to draw into your Max Potion, your Ace Roller, at the right time. How do you do that? Using Mismagius. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the entire deck in terms of Pokemon. Your Sylveon and Gardevoir smash and heal, while hopefully at one point shuffling their hand into their deck. And then you've just got Mismagius. Cool. Nice. And remember, because you're moving the energy when you're smashing, you don't give up the energy when you're healing. That's pretty redonk. So what do we see in terms of your trainer cards here? Well, one of the things I love here is that we've actually got 2 copies of Countercatcher. Countercatcher! And the reason here is extremely simple. You want to go down on prizes. Remember, you are trying to heal Sylveon and Gardevoir, so you're not giving up prizes. So the ideal situation here is you give up 1 or 2 prizes with Mismagius, and then you can take advantage of Countercatcher going after the particular Pokemon that you want to go after. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty gosh darn lovely. But we also see 1 copy of Diantha here. I am a huge fan of Diantha in any fairy deck. Now, it only works if you had a fairy Pokemon KO during your opponent's previous turn, but you got Sylveon and Gardevoir. So the chances are, ladies and gentlemen, that you probably are going to have 1 KO'd here eventually. And here's the thing, right? The only way you don't get Diantha is if your opponent never KOs your Sylveon and Gardevoir. Cool. That means you've either won the game, or you've had one of those really bad games where your opponent just KOs Misdreavus and Mismagius, and that's a very bad thing. But most of the time, you're going to be able to use it. And then you just get to grab any 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. If you're behind on prizes, maybe you go and grab a Countercatcher. Hopefully not after a Tag Team GX goes down, but you never know. Or you can go ahead and grab yourself a Max Potion Ace Roller. Just keep going with it. But we also see 4 copies of Choice Helmet here. Choice Helmet reduces damage done to your EX and GX Pokemon by 30. Which means that not only have you got a rather crazy high 260 HP, not only do you have huge options for healing, but you're also reducing damage done to you by 30. And this is why you don't play Fairy Charms, incidentally. We are going hard into Choice Helmet. 4 Choice Helmet, and you've even got an adventure bag to search out your Choice Helmet. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, this is a really, really good, viable option here. This is a tanking, stalling deck. The goal of this, and no, it's not stalling as in trying to deck out your opponent, but the goal of this deck is, ha ha ha, you can't KO me. Now, the other slightly weird thing we see here, although it's not that weird, 2 copies of Duskstone. Duskstone lets you evolve your Misdreavus into your Mismagius straight away. Yes, you get to search your deck for it. Yes, you get to evolve the turn you put it down, even if it's the first turn of the game. That's redonk. Now, in terms of supporter cards here, we play 4 Green Search, and we're even playing 4 copies of Pokegear 3.0 to search them out. It's that important. Green Search allows you to search for any 2 trainer cards just so long as you've got no Pokemon in play with an ability. And sure, Mismagius has got an ability, but you also KO it, so it really doesn't matter. And then you can search for whatever you want. Get your Choice Helmet, get your Countercatcher, get your Max Potion. Whatever you want, ladies and gentlemen, you can just go ahead and play it straight away. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, but you can't really play supporters. Oh, yes, you can, because we've got Lieutenant Surge's strategy here. Lieutenant Surge's strategy lets you play 2 supporters this turn in addition to Lieutenant Surge's strategy. Which means that when you KO Mismagius to go behind on prizes, not only do you get Countercatcher, you also get Lieutenant Surge's strategy. And that means you play Green Search, but you can search out a supporter card and immediately play it. That's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Utterly ridiculous. Now, we do see a couple copies of Bill's Analysis here. Why do we play Bill's Analysis? Because we want to get set up. We're going for combos here. Misdreavus plus Duskstone. Or getting your choice helmet. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, put 2 trainer cards into your hand. Yes, we got Green Search that gets your trainers. Yes, we've got Bill's Analysis that gets your trainers. But this deck doesn't need too much. A few energy, and then you want your Counter Catcher, your Max Potion, etc. This is beautiful. Now, we also see 2 copies of Guzma to drag Pokemon active, but also to switch, and 2 copies of Judge for a little bit of disruption, which is quite nice. We see 2 copies of Switch, also for switching. The only item cards we're playing here, or Pokemon Search I should say, are free Nest Ball, because you just need some basics in the early game. But remember, you've got Bill's Analysis, Green Search, and Pokegear 3.0. It ain't that difficult to find these Nest Ball. But we also see 2 copies of Energy Switch. Now this is great in the early game. When you use that first attack to attach energy to your bench, you can then use Energy Switch to move it back over. This is really, really viable. It's a really fun little tech. Generally speaking, when you're attacking with Gardevoir and Sylveon, it doesn't really matter because you're putting the energy where you want it. But in the early game, you get to accelerate 2 energy to one of your bench Pokemon. Or 1 to each of 2. Doesn't really matter. You then use Green Search to search out both your Energy Switch, and you can essentially attach them to yourself. That's pretty good. 1 copy of Field Blower to get rid of tools and stadiums. 2 Verbank Forest to search out your energy. 1 Wonder Labyrinth Prism Star to increase your opponent's attack cost by 1. That might stop them attacking. Bearing in mind you're healing and using Choice Helmet, stopping them attacking sounds like a pretty good thing. And then we've got 1 copy of Unmanned Power Plant. Or Power Station, depends how you interpret it. Both players, EX and GX Pokemon, have no abilities. Well, you don't care about that. Your opponent might. Stuff like Tapu Lele and Dedenne and Zoroark. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. And that's the deck, ladies and gentlemen. It's a really fun, inventive deck, taking advantage of Mismagius to go behind on prizes, and then reducing damage and healing and all that good stuff, and just winning the game. I love the fact that you can go behind on prizes, take advantage of it, and it doesn't even get your opponent any closer to winning the game. Not the last time we're going to talk about Mismagius, ladies and gentlemen. That is a card which is going to completely transform the game. Take my word on that. But I would like to take your word on this deck, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! But please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WhatHePlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.